Hello, seekers of wisdom. My name is Mark Pinkham, and I'm going to be your host on a two-part series that will cover the history and teachings and members of a very ancient organization known as the Great White Brotherhood. The Order and Mystery School of the Seven Rays is dedicated to disseminating the wisdom of the founder of the Great White Brotherhood, which you'll be hearing about during this presentation. We're dedicated to unveiling the mysteries and some of the most esoteric secrets that have ever been bestowed upon humanity. During this video, as well as videos that we will be creating and posting in the coming weeks and months. So if you'd like to keep abreast with us and what we're doing in our videos, please subscribe. Click on the subscribe button below, and also visit our website, which is www.sevenrayorder.com. So, what do we really know about the Great White Brotherhood? Well, one thing I would like to say right away is that it was initially called something else. It was called the Order of the Seven Rays. And the name white in Great White Brotherhood, it has nothing to do with skin color. It has to do with spiritual purity. Those in the Great White Brotherhood have a high level of spiritual purity. But white also refers to the unification of all colors, because the Great White Brotherhood was founded in order to bring all the races together and to lead them on the path that would culminate in the goal of a human body, of human existence, which is God realization, the realization that God, the infinite spirit, exists within me as me. So let's get started. Let's get started on our video presentation for today. The Great White Brotherhood, Part 1. Great White Brotherhood was founded by a missionary from another star system. This missionary brought to Earth the teachings of how humans could complete their evolution on Earth and know their divinity. Through the teachings of the Great Brotherhood, they would realize that they are the infinite spirit in a physical body, and they possess the powers and wisdom of a god or goddess right within themselves. This ancient missionary came from the star system known as the Pleiades, which has a very special relationship with the inhabitants of Earth. Many souls on Earth had spent time in the Pleiades after arriving there through a portal from a higher frequency etheric universe, which the Middle Eastern Gnostics knew as the Pleroma, the fullness of God. Now, after acclimating themselves to the physical bodies that they would assume in our physical universe, these souls incarnated on Earth where the goal was to achieve self-knowledge. Since they had established karmic connections to the residents of the Pleiades while residing there, these new inhabitants of Earth attracted the protection and support and spiritual guidance from many of their relatives in the Seven Sisters who have since periodically come to Earth in order to help them achieve their spiritual goal. And one of the first to come to Earth was a missionary who founded the Great White Brotherhood. The Middle Eastern Gnostics refer to this star missionary in their ancient writings. They claim that he was sent to Earth by Sophia, which is a name of both the Pleiades as well as the goddess and creatress of the universe. Sophia sent her son so that her human children on Earth could know their divine nature. Other tribes and people around the Earth also remember this missionary. Although his name and appearance varies, each history that refers to him remember him as the original savior of humanity who brought the teachings of enlightenment to Earth and then became the first priest king of our world. The Yazidi, a people of northern Iraq who were part of the very ancient Sumerian civilization and also refer to themselves as the first people created on Earth, they associate this missionary with a resplendent peacock. They call him Tausi Malek, which means the peacock angel, the peacock king. Other descendants of the earliest Middle Eastern tribes refer to this missionary by the name of E or Enki, the Lord of the world, who brought the teachings of enlightenment. In India, where he's also associated with the peacock, he's known as Sanat Kumara or Kartikeya, meaning son of the Pleiades. The Jews remember him as King Melchizedek. The Egyptians have known him as Osiris, and the Hopis know him as their Lord of the world, Masao. Some of the teachings related to Sanat Kumara in the Hindu Puranas, the Hindu legends, maintain that Earth's first savior arrived as one of four brothers, who collectively were known as the Kumaras. They were first of many avatars or saviors who came to Earth with the teachings of the Siddhamarga, which means the evolutionary path to human perfection. The legends maintain that the Kumaras arrived on Earth when India was connected to Lemuria, a great continent that once stretched all the way from the Indian Ocean across the Pacific to the borders of South America. The Polynesians who currently reside on the island remnants of this fabled continent refer to it as the ancient cradle of human civilization. It was there that missionaries descended from the heavens to teach and uplift early humanity. In their legends, the Hindus remember Lemuria as Kumari Kandum or Kumari Nadu, which means land of goddess Kumari. Kumari is the feminine form of Kumara. It was upon Kumari Kandum that the teachings of Sanat Kumara and his brothers were first taught. He and his brother Sananda Kumara, who later incarnated as Jesus, founded the Order of the Seven Rays for the protection and dissemination of these very sacred teachings. Much later in time, the Order of the Seven Rays became known as the Great White Brotherhood. Sanat Kumara initially also assumed the role of Earth's first priest king, so he could better oversee the spiritual evolution of humanity. At the heart of the teachings of the Order of the Seven Rays was the secret wisdom regarding the existence of an evolutionary force at the base of the human spine that, when awakened through certain practices, completes the spiritual evolution of a human being. As it rises up the spine, it opens all of a person's chakras or power centers, and these endow the evolving person with supernatural powers and the wisdom of their true nature. This seminal revelation that a person is God in a human form and inherently possesses the power and wisdom of God is known as God or self-realization. The evolutionary power is known as the Kundalini as well as the serpent power, because it moves through the body like a spiraling snake. As it moves, it consumes all parts of a person that keep them from knowing their divine nature, including their ego and limited ideas they have about reality. When the serpent power completes its mission and rises to the top of the head to open a person's highest chakras and thereby fully unite them with God, it is then said that that person has achieved serpent power and serpent wisdom. In ancient times, such a person became known by an honor title that denoted him or her as a snake or serpent or a dragon. Eventually, many of those who achieved the power and wisdom of the serpent took the teachings of the Order of the Seven Rays around the globe. Wherever they settled, they founded serpent or dragon kingdoms, wherein they governed their new people as priest kings and as the heads of the mystery schools. And by their subjects, they are always addressed with indigenous titles that denoted serpent or dragon. In India, they became the Nagas, which is a Sanskrit word for serpents. In India, they became the Lung dragons. The serpents in Egypt were the Jedi, which has a prefix DJ, which is the sound syllable of the serpent. In Britain, they were the adders. The Mexican tribes knew them as the Quetzalcoatlus, the plumed serpents, and the Peruvians addressed them as the Amatus. In time, dragon kingdoms covered much of the earth, and together they created a worldwide dragon culture, wherein the secrets of the Order of the Seven Rays was taught within temples and pyramids constructed specially for awakening of the serpent power. One of the serpent missionaries from Lemuria was named Amadamodu or Adamomodu. The legends of the Andean people maintain that Adamomodu arrived in the Andes with the wisdom, power objects, and history of the Seven-Ray Brotherhood he had been part of on Lemuria. After creating a monastery in the Andes known as the Monastery of the Seven Rays to hold his Lemurian records and artifacts, Adamomodu left the monastery and traveled to the valley of Cusco, where under the name of Manco Capac he founded the Inca Empire, whose distinctive symbol was its seven-ray flag. Some of the mystery traditions of the Andes still trace their origin back to Adamomodu. The symbol of the Order of the Seven Rays in front of you includes a mountain that exists deep in the Andes that looks like a man with his arms outstretched and welcoming. This mountain holds the spiritual power of Adamomodu and is said to exist right next to the monastery of the Seven Rays. Some of the serpent masters of Lemuria also traveled to North America, to an area which is now known as Sedona, Arizona, and on a huge vortex they founded a city, a temple city, where the secrets of the serpent power could be taught and the serpent power awakened. Their city, which is known in Hopi legend as Palatquapi, the Red House, became the site of the principal planetary court and throne of Sanat Kumara under his Hopi name, Lord of the World Masao. From Lemuria, especially that part of the continent that is now known as Sri Lanka, some of the serpent masters also traveled north into India. These enlightened masters were known as Siddhas, perfected masters, who gained fame for teaching the secrets of the Siddha Marg. These Siddhas moved throughout India, creating schools of yoga, within which they taught the techniques of Kundalini Activation. One sect of serpents that originated in the area of what is now Sri Lanka traveled west to spread the teachings of Kundalini to the people of the West. These were the Mandeans, the early students of Sanat Kumara. They were led west by their serpent leaders, the Nasserai, to become members of the Sumerian, Persian, Egyptian, and Essene cultures and traditions. When the Mandeans united with the Essenes, they produced the sect of Essenes known as the Nassareans. The prefix Nas of both Nasserai and Nassarean denotes serpent. Within the sect of Nassareans were born John the Baptist, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene. John the Baptist founded the Johannite lineage of adepts, within which was passed the power and wisdom of Sanat Kumara down a long lineage of powerful adepts named John. When, during the time of the First Crusade, the first Knight Templar Grand Master, Huda Payons, also became Grand Master of the Johannites and named John number 70, it was at that time that the power and wisdom of Sanat Kumara entered the Knight Templar Order. There it became known as the power of the Holy Grail. This was truly the Holy Grail that each knight pledged to guard and protect. Hundreds of years later, the power of the Johannite lineage continued to prosper in the person of Saint Germain, a well-known member of the Great White Brotherhood. Saint Germain was a member of most secret societies in Europe during the 17 and 1800s, but his principal loyalty was to the Johannite lineage that he represented. Now, another lineage of serpent masters that came from Lemuria and influenced the ancient world became members of the Thoth Hermes lineage of masters on Atlantis. This lineage of masters emerged from the Kabiri Brotherhood of Atlantis. Now, this Kabiri Brotherhood was founded by the serpent masters from Lemuria, and they venerated the ancient founders of the Order of the Seven Rays as the two Kabiri twin brothers. This was their name for Sanat and Sananda Kumara. The Kabiri twins were venerated by them in the form of twin boys, as well as two snakes that were entwined around the caduceus of Mercury. The Thoth Hermes masters took their serpent wisdom to Egypt, and they founded a dragon kingdom there that was focused around the Great Pyramid. In Egypt, Sanat Kumara assumed his Egyptian name of Ptah Osiris. The Thoth Hermes adepts were architects and builders whose sacred rites eventually passed into Europe and became the foundation of Freemasonry. In Freemasonry, Ptah Osiris became Hiram Abiff, the master builder, who, like Osiris, was murdered and then resurrected from the dead. Many lodges of Freemasonry claimed descent from both Egypt and Atlantis, and some claimed special association with the Great White Brotherhood. Another Egyptian sect that was founded by the Atlantean migration of serpents to Egypt was the Illuminati. Now, this is not the Illuminati that was founded in the 18th century by Adam Weishaupt. This Egyptian order was founded by the pharaoh Thutmose III of the 18th dynasty, and it was based upon wisdom that was anciently brought to Egypt from Atlantis, and it was taught to Thutmose by the Egyptian priesthood of Thebes. In Europe and America, the Egyptian Illuminati became known as one of the orders, or one of the branches of the Order of Rosicrucians. Many of the Rosicrucian orders also maintain their affiliation with the Great White Brotherhood. And finally, some of the serpents of Atlantis also traveled in a westward tradition or direction from their homeland and founded serpent kingdoms in Mesoamerica. According to legend, upon arriving in ships covered in snakeskin, they built the great city of Tamoanchan, which means where the people of the serpent landed. From Tamoanchan, the serpent adepts spread their Mesoamerican wisdom around Mexico and Central America while founding the dragon kingdoms of the Olmecs, the Maya, and the Toltecs. This last slide shows my book, The Return of the Serpents of Wisdom. This book is the complete history and teachings of those enlightened masters known as dragons and serpents that I've alluded to in this video. It talks about where they came from in the universe, their origins on this planet in Atlantis and Lemuria, and where they went after they dispersed from those motherlands, and the dragon kingdoms they created. And it also talks about their return now at this time in history. The expanded and updated version of the book was recently published, and it can be purchased at the website address listed below the book. Since its publication nearly 25 years ago, the book has really become probably the principal resource for studying these ancient masters known as serpents and dragons. So this completes part one of this two-part series. Part two will cover the more recent manifestations of the Great White Brotherhood, beginning when it was first called the Great White Brotherhood in the 1800s via the Theosophical Society and Madame Blavatsky and the Ascended Masters of that time. So please watch that second part and click on the subscribe button below if you haven't already. And thank you for watching. Namaste.